Fantastic. Thank you. Oh, bear with me a second. Here we go. All right. So, good morning, everybody. October the 30th, 2020. So, we've only got 60 days till 2021. Sounds like, nothing, but it's 16.7% of the year still left to reach our goals. So the slaughterhouse of failure is not in my destiny, Augmandino. We've got to inculcate that. Today we're going to talk about the power of habit, and it's Charles Duhigg. And we're going to talk about the power of habit, cues, routines, and rewards. So basically, what holds us back when we procrastinate? We don't follow up. We've got these three items we're going to talk about: the cue, the current, routine, and the reward. Basically, it kind of encompasses everything we've been talking about for some time. So, for example, a cue would be looking at the volumes in genealogy every evening, strategize the plan for the next day, prepare the list of calls to make, analyze the sales of the day, and plan where to focus the next day. Be excited about the possibilities and think about maybe 10% more tomorrow. So go to bed on a high. So that's a cue. The routine is that, well, we don't make the calls, or if we do, we stumble, which reinforces our comfort zone, reinforces the rewards, the rewards of the safety zone. So in other words, we get into that kind of rut of, we're going to make the call, well, we won't make the call, I'll make the call, it fails, and then we say, then we fall into a safety zone, which is our reward, and the reward is the comfort zone. So we need to change the routine to make the calls by engaging our upline, three-way calls, until you find that the reward you can make for yourself by making your own by making your own three-way calls, by having the excitement and the reward of making the call yourself. So I just want to give an example because it sounds a little confusing, but I want an example. So the cue is the same, the reward is the same. What we need to change is our routine. So in my case, habit of procrastination is my downtime. My cue is I get excited, I'm really excited. The cue for me, my downtime is, my cue is that when I'm in downtime, I feel unproductive. It's a kryptonite for me. I should be happy to have the downtime, but I'm not recruiting, and that's what makes me excited. And because I don't get that immediate gratification of the interaction, this causes boredom and procrastination. I end up wasting time and following up unenthusiastically. I feel guilty when I'm not working. In other words, when I don't have the face-to-face interaction calls. So I've never really embraced the time at my disposal for follow-ups and recreation because I feel guilty about not working. It's the grunt work. It's the mundane and unappetizing part of the work. So basically, I just wanted to say that, what makes me go on a high is when I talk to people, and that's yay. That's what I like to do. And then I procrastinate when I find that I've got to do these other things which are not exciting to me. And other people find making calls not exciting. They find calls are their reason for procrastinating. So each one of us has something different. Dan, I don't know if you'd like to take in from here and see if we can.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this in one of the previous weeks. These are called habit loops. Figuring out what the cue is. It's going to trigger your brain to tell you to go into automatic mode. It's basically a habit is just something that you've done repetitively to the point where it just becomes, you don't subconscious, you don't even have to think about it. And then there's the routines. Those are, they can be physical, mental, emotional, but they're basically, you want them to be as simple as possible to get you where you want to go. And then the rewards are, obviously things that help you figure out if your brain, if this is actually something worthwhile, if it's a particular loop that's worth remembering, so it's all about making things that you're doing a habit and having those habits be geared towards you reaching your ultimate goal, whatever that is, if it's business or personal or whatever it may be. So you want to create these habit loops that just make everything a little bit more habitual, where you don't really have to think about it, but they're these positive habits that you have that are all striving towards getting you towards your ultimate goal or your WIG, as we've talked about in the past weeks. So, for me, I'm traveling this week, so it was, I'm kind of out of my routine, right? So I need to figure out what those cues are. And those cues for me are, getting out and talking to people about the business. And so I got into California late Wednesday night, spent the day yesterday having a little bit of free time, but then I spent the rest of the afternoon working because, with that much free time on my hands, I didn't really know what to do, because I have these habits that I have formed every single day that I get up, I plan, I work, I do this, I do that. And I'm kind of out of my routine. But as soon as I started to get back into my routine yesterday, I started to feel more comfortable. Setting up calls for Friday. I have a training I'm doing this morning with an office, training the staff for the scanner. And then after that, I've got a bunch of sales calls I'm going to make. So that's my comfort zone. Those are the habits that I've created. And when I'm not engaged in those habits, that's when I start to feel out of my comfort zone. So.
Yeah. And the habit, as you said, Dan, some of the habits that we have, we go into kind of automatic mode and we just continue to do them and we don't really think about them. But there are times that because we're not stimulated, because we're not enthusiastic, in my case anyway, for me, the most unrewarding time for my mind has been the follow-ups. I'm terrible at that. And I do it unenthusiastically because it doesn't give me the high that it does when I actually have an immediate reward of talking to somebody and being able to be challenged and to have that interchange with people. So, but everybody's different. Some people may have exactly the opposite. They may love to do the follow-ups, and they may have this thing about making calls as something that's very, very painful. So it becomes important to be able to adjust ourselves so that we can have a different result using the same using a routine and using a cue, but have a different result. And what changes there is the routine, how we work it.
Yeah, it's all about routine, and we've had this talk. It's somewhat lengthy in the past, but I think it's super important that we continue the conversation and talk about these habits. And for you, figuring out what your cues are, what your routine is, and then ultimately what your reward is. So you need each person, that's different for each person individually, and so there's nobody that can tell you what those are. You need to figure that out for yourself. What's your motivations, or what are your motivations? What are your cues that push you towards getting to those goals that you have and ultimately meet you? And the Keystone Habits are the important habits, right? They're the habits that matter more than others in remaking your life or your business. They're, what is ultimately going to drive you to that goal, or that wildly important goal. So you need to really spend time focusing on what those keystone habits are that are going to help you reach that goal. I know I keep going on and on about reaching the goal in WIGS and the habits to get you there, but that's very, very important, is creating those habits that are going to kind of become automatic. And when you do them repetitively, that's how they're going to become automatic and subconscious, and you're just going to do them automatically. So, one of those things for me, I've, with the sales career of 25 years, one of the things that's become automatic for me is how I approach physicians with anything that I'm trying to talk to them about. First of all, you have to try and make a connection. I had a dinner last night with a doctor and his wife, and he happened to be from Pennsylvania. So before I talked to any business, before I talked to integration, I hadn't met him before. He's somebody from my downline brought him on, and so I didn't really have a relationship with him. So I wanted to create a personal relationship with him first, and that's a habit that I've created over time, where I automatically try to connect with somebody on a personal level before I start talking about the business. Business was kind of a side event that we were there to talk about. So that's super important, and that's a habit that I've created that I think helps me connect with people on a little bit deeper level, that pulls them in and creates a better communication style and things like that just have them feel more comfortable with me. And by the end of the night, it was like, we were best friends. And then we started talking about the integration process and how he thought it should go. And I basically had the conversation with him that I'm going to go into your office tomorrow. I'm going to look at how you run things, the process, look at what kind of habits you guys have formed in your office, and how we're going to install this new technology in there so that it's not disruptive, or that it flows efficiently. So it's, from sales calls to, connecting with people on the internet, to having dinner with them for a planning meeting, integration meeting, to installing the actual device in the practice and educating the staff on it. These are all habits that you need to form in this business.
And they all have to do with how you feel in your mind, your mindset. This is because if you feel positive about something, you feel good about something, you feel comfortable about something, then your chances of success are greatly improved. It's when we procrastinate, we have to do something, and then we do it without that enthusiasm, it rubs off. And so when you were talking to the doctor last night, and you were actually painting a picture for him, eventually, I mean, you bonded and so on, so that was a feel good thing. But then you talked about how you're going to do the business and so on. So there's the endorphins come in, you feel good about something, there's a plan of action, you're thinking about something, and so it becomes exciting. And I've always had the idea that we should the last thing to do at night before we go to bed is to be energized with what we hope to do or we plan to do the next day. That's, in my opinion, that's important. And by having that conversation with that doctor that you did last night, he's energized, and his wife, maybe, I think you said that. And
she was more excited. She was more excited about this than he. I mean, he's excited about it, but she's even more excited about it, which is really fun to watch.
Maybe she's just excited to see you.
I doubt it. I've never met anybody that said that excitement.
But anyway, yeah. So it's that attitude, that mental thing, but we've got to find it, because, like I say, it's not evident for everybody in the same way. Not everybody is in that comfort zone, in that same comfort zone of whether it's speaking to somebody, or whether it's making phone calls, whether it's following up, or whatever it is. There's a comfort zone there, and then there is a part which for me is not the most appetizing thing, and that is the follow-ups.
Yeah, it's like you said, part of this is your passion for this business. I think the way I talked about it last night, and the way I generally talk about this with with physicians, they can see the passion. And so, like Lawrence is right, that does rub off on them. So if you can talk very passionately about this business and the scanner and supplement forming in this business, it does rub off on them, and the more you talk about it, you're getting a lot of things that they didn't know last night. I had never had a conversation with them, so there were a lot of things that I needed to educate them on, and every single thing that we talked about, they're like, wow, I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense. And he had a really good idea about how he wants to do this in his practice and how he thinks it's going to work in his practice. And I had to kind of, take what he was saying and gently have a conversation with him that I don't think that that's the best way for this to work in your practice. And, his wife had a million questions about what have you seen, like best practices. How are they doing it? What are they doing that's making it successful? And, just giving them some nuggets on how to do that successfully and how they can motivate their staff and things like that. These conversations,
You're breaking up, Dan. Dan, you're breaking up. But I think what's important in what you're saying there, Dan, is that, which I 100% endorse, and that is our business has got to do with relationships. And we're not just there to place a scanner, we're there to solve people's problems. I've always said that. And the enthusiasm that you have and the relationship and there's some things, affinities that we find with people. We find all kinds of affinities. Somebody may be, I know you like climbing rocks and mountains and stones and all sorts of, weird things that you like to do in the outdoors, which I think is fantastic. I can't like to do that, but you might find that doctor loves to do that too, or his kids do, or his wife, or whatever. So the affinities that we have add to the enthusiasm with which we embrace the business, because we've got a relationship that kind of helps that along too.
Yeah, it's sales is about connecting with people. Yes. It's not something that you do to people. It's something that you do with somebody. You have to have that connection, and you guys have probably all heard this. People buy from people that they like, that they trust, all of those things, and so you need to come across as having integrity and morals and ethics and all of those different things, and you have to be likable. So this is a people business, like most sales. People buy from who they like and who they trust, like I said, and you have to be that person. If that's not your personality, then you need to create some habits that get you to that place. Lawrence is a people person. If Lawrence doesn't, I can tell on days when Lawrence hasn't had enough social interaction. He's a little out of it, and you kind of just calling him. Sometimes I've called him for no reason at all, and he's like, "Thank you for calling." It's just getting me back to where my comfort zone, and I haven't been talking to a lot of people today, and that's Lawrence. Lawrence is just a people person, and if he doesn't have that, those are his cues. Then he's not going to form. Those habits don't kick in. So it's very important part of his personality.
Well, each of us has strengths and challenges, and as I say, for me, it's a fuel. It's fuel for my good feeling to be able to go and talk to people or listen to people and solve their problems. But on the notes here that I'm seeing, Dan, I'm looking at the time and I'm seeing some notes, some questions about the doctors and so on. I just want to say that even though we have coronavirus, yesterday and the day before, I went out to make some cold calls because I've got some people that are brand new, and to explain to them how to do it is one thing, but to actually do it is another. So the point was to go with them to do some cold calls. And the good thing is that the doctor's offices are all empty, well, almost empty. And so, you know, I never ask for the doctor. I ask for the office manager. And I try and schmooze with the office manager rather than the doctor, because when we have a relationship where we can show the office manager what this is about, we can show them, you know, how easy it is and how attractive this whole business possibility is for the practice, that helps. So right now, even with coronavirus, you know, at least I'm in Florida and I know they've opened, but everybody's still kind of like, obviously a little wary because we've got heights of, increased levels. But it is possible to go out and speak to physicians, even though they're closed. It is possible. Just knock on the door and go. And I didn't have anybody say, you know, we won't see you, we can't see you, we don't want to see you, anything like that. Just be, you know, reasonable about it. But it is possible, and speak to the office manager.
Yeah, and you know, the hardest thing about sales and with physicians is every office has a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And they're the people that are trying to keep you from getting to the doctor. And so you have to try and figure out a way to make a connection with them. You know, today I have 5 practices that I want to call on, and I'm going to throw out the doctor's name in a pretty small community. And I'm just going to say, you know, I'm in town working with Dr. So-and-so, and I'm only here for a few short days. I wanted to stop by and show you a technology that can be useful for your practice and for your patients. And so, you know, that's the way I'm going to go about it. You have to figure out a way. There's a way. If there's a will, there's a way. You can make it happen. You just need to figure out what that approach is going to be. And even during coronavirus, I think there's an approach. You know, if you go in there professionally, if you have a mask on, if you have hand sanitizer with you, you make sure you have wipes for the scanner, antibacterial wipes, so you can wipe it down and show them that you're doing it professionally and in a safe way. Or explain that to them, you know, hey, I have this device and, you know, there's a way that I could show you how this works and we'll be very sanitary with it. So I don't want to put anybody at risk. And, you know, it's basically like we're doing it with nothing going on, but we, you know, because we're going to be very careful in how we do that and make sure that they use hand sanitizer before they put their hand on it. You wipe down the scanner and then afterwards provide them a little bit more hand sanitizer just so that safe.
By the way, about hand sanitizer, New Skin's got these little Epoch hand sanitizers that have a moisturizer in them, and they're really, really good. So I bought a whole bunch of these, and wherever I go, I just let them have some of these. And they say, oh my God, this is really soft. This is nice. This is very nice. It's much less abrasive and it's got less alcohol, I guess, than the other ones. So the hand sanitizing and the whole professional side of it is worthwhile.
There's a question from Jim on here about
lean into our strengths or work on our challenges. I would say that we've got to make the challenges fun as well. You've got to find something in the challenge that you can switch it around to make it so that it's not such a pain in the, you know, it's not such a pain to do, where you can actually start to look forward to the challenge. It's that eat that frog thing that I said the other last time was, you know, get into that thing first. And then when you know that you can eat the frog, which is the most unappetizing thing imaginable, I believe, when you can get over that and you can kind of like say, oh, it wasn't so bad. And then the rest of it is much easier.
Yeah, don't forget, you know, you have a team that's, you know.
Breaking up, Dan.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm in a hotel. Yeah, so I tend to focus on my strengths because I know that I have a strong team behind me that are going to pick me up when I'm down. And, you know, I don't really look at anything as a challenge. I look at it as an opportunity. And so I focus on my strengths and what my strengths are. Everybody on our team has strengths and weaknesses. And if I'm, weaker in something than somebody else, that's when I bring them into the fold and use their strength to my, I think that's what, with medical device sales rep, that they think that I'll create a connection with, and they'll ask me to get on a call with them.
You just said something tremendously important. You said, the challenges that you find, you look as opportunities, and that's an opportunity to get better. It's an opportunity to emancipate your own way of thinking. So you're absolutely right. If you look at something as a problem, whatever you look at, whatever you focus on grows in that way. If you focus on something as something positive, it'll grow. If you look at something as negative, that will grow as a negative. So I think you're quite right. Look at something that is a challenge as an opportunity to overcome that.
Yeah, it's all training your mind to have that growth mindset rather than that fixed mindset. If you look at challenges as a negative, that's a set that, it's an opportunity, then you're saying in your own mind that you can actually improve on that, and so that it won't be a challenge anymore. So it's all about mindset. We talk about that a lot on this call, and really training your mind to have that growth mindset.
Sure. And by the way, just as a parting shot, we're doing some painting in the house. And so we got some quotes to do the painting. And we actually chose not the least expensive. We chose one that was more expensive, but because the guy was very professional in how he spoke. So, it's that relationship, that feeling that you get when you're talking to somebody. So I just wanted to say that when we're talking about who we're talking to about scanners and so on, it's about the professional way of presenting a business. So we chose a painter that was, quite expensive by comparison to the others. Just because professional. Okay, Dan, you got anything else?
No, I think I've talked enough this week. I just want to say to everybody, get out there, start creating some of these positive habits, figure out what your cues, your routines are, focus on your rewards and what your wildly important goals are, and do everything in your power to try and meet those goals. Make those that part of your day, your evening. Well, I think I talk about it. That I do is plan for my next day in the evening before, right? And then I wake up and I'm focused. I know exactly what my plans are for the day, what I'm going to do. I don't wake up in the morning and sit around and think about, oh, geez, what am I going to do today? I wake up with a focused plan of what I'm going to do the following day. And that just helps me get going quicker.
And the fact that you've slept on an you've gone to sleep with thinking about something that's exciting for the next day, you'll also have a better sleep. Oh, Thanks everybody for being on. We look forward to chatting with you. Yeah, finish the month strong, everybody. Enjoy your day, and I think today is today and tomorrow last day. So anyway, thanks very much for being on the call, everybody, and please God, we'll see you next Friday. Thanks very much. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for everybody.